Thanks so much for tuning in to the Sustainable Brown Girl YouTube channel. This show exists to provide representation for women of color within the environmental space, to share their stories, and to inspire all to be more eco-friendly every day. I'm your host, Ariel Green. This is where you can see all of the full video podcast episodes. So be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. Also, go follow us on Instagram at Sustainable Brown Girl. Enjoy! Today's featured Sustainable Brown Girl is Monique Koch, also known as Brown Vegan on YouTube, Instagram, her blog, and podcast. Through her platform, Monique shares family and beginner-friendly vegan tips and recipes for folks who say they could never go vegan. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, Ariel, thanks for having me.
Yay. So I'm sure you've told this story 1,000,001 times, but for people who aren't familiar with you, tell us like how your vegan journey began.
You know what's funny? I actually have not told this story 1,000,000 times.
Oh,
The reason I say that is because I'm usually interviewing people. I don't usually let
okay.
people interview me.
Yeah. Well,
I have
thank
the
you for
nerve,
this
right?
privilege.
Yeah, I have the nerve. But I told myself for 2022 I was going to let people interview me.
Nice.
So it may be a little rough, but the bottom line is
Yeah.
I decided to become a vegan after being a vegetarian for 2 years. So I became a vegetarian in 2008, and I never, ever thought I would be a vegan. I just really didn't have any interest in it. And honestly, I
Yeah.
didn't think I would ever be able to do it because in my mind, vegans only ate salads and drank smoothies. They didn't have any fun, no flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I tried it at one point, I would say in 2008, and I did it for about 2 weeks. And I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me because I had no idea. And I think that's a struggle for a lot of people. They kind of want to do it. And then they're like, but what is there to eat? So
Yeah.
um, in 2010, I read a book called Sister Vegan by Breeze Harper. Are
Mm-hmm.
you familiar with that one?
No.
Yeah. So basically it's just a collection of stories from other vegans from all walks of life, Black women, and they just share their experience with being vegan. And it was the first time that I saw veganism as something that truly resonated for me as a Black woman, because I was just like,
Yeah.
up until that point I had never saw us represented in this. And so when I decided to become a vegan, it was so important to me to have a YouTube channel, a blog, all of those things, because I knew that if I felt like this, other people probably did as well. So I was just like, okay, what can I do to make this lifestyle not only sustainable but fun, and it doesn't take away from who you are? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes that's a concern for a lot of people. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's basically how I got started. It was for ethical reasons, protest factory farming. As I did
Mm-hmm.
more research, the environmental reasons came up, and of course the health reasons, but initially it was all about animal rights. But of course, as we evolve in our journeys, we learn more, we do more. And so that's where I started.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that representation is so important, because when you don't see people who look like you within a community, it's hard to see yourself in it sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I was kind of mentioned before we got started. I have I grew up vegetarian for we started being vegetarian like when I was 5 years old until like I was maybe 10 or so. And then we started eating chicken and fish and turkey again. And so from then, like up until like I was maybe 24, 25, that's what I ate. I say like I've never really had beef or pork. Maybe I did before five, but
You
like in
don't.
my, since then, right, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
so so I'm familiar with veganism and vegetarianism, and like since you started like in 2008, like I know that there hasn't been it's grown in popularity since then, but like back then it was really rough to be vegetarian. But
Actually, in 2008, I don't think so because,
yeah,
um, not to be a vegetarian, to maybe be a
right.
vegan, because I became a
Yeah,
vegan in
yeah, yeah.
2010. But vegetarian, I mean, cheese, pizza, whatever. It was always so
Yeah,
good. So I'm sorry, I
yeah,
cut you off. Go ahead.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. I meant vegan. Yeah, because like back then, like in the 90s when my family was vegetarian, there was like maybe silk soy milk. There was no oat milk, no almond milk really. It was crazy. But anyway, in 2012, my husband and I watched Veggicated, and we were like, we're going to go cold turkey. And we were vegan for almost a year. And what really threw us off was the holidays. And, like just having to be around family and like explain to them. And that's what really messed us up.
Yeah.
So, what are some things that you would tell people who want to be vegan or vegetarian, but just like you said, feel like they can't do it?
Yeah. So I think the first step is to get clear about why you want to do it in the first place.
Mm, hmm.
Because it's so easy to, like you said, watch a documentary or read an article and you think you want to do it. But if you're not clear about why you want to do it, it's very hard to kind of maintain it, just like anything else, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the first step. And I also like to give people permission to baby step their way into it.
Yeah.
So for me, because I was a vegetarian first, I think it did help me when I decided to become a vegan because I was already not eating meat. Now, of course, we know dairy is a whole nother
Yeah.
another ball, a whole nother
Yeah.
situation. But I think that it did help me a little bit by starting with a vegetarian because it kind of gave me the confidence to build on. So I think that's a good start. And also, I think it's important to take some of the meals that you enjoy now and think of ways to make them vegan. I think that's an easy
Yes.
start, especially with like all of the options that are out there these days.
Right.
I mean, the sky is the limit because I know when I started, we had like cardboard cheese, now
Right.
now
Exactly.
there's so many different options out there. So I think it's important to just give yourself that grace, and you
Hmm.
don't have to jump into it overnight. I mean, it would be great if you do, but if you don't, that's okay. Just keep building on the momentum from all of the little things that you do daily, like switching out your milk, like you mentioned the silk. That's a great one. Switching,
Hmm.
if you drink dairy now, you buy dairy milk, you could start switching that out. There's like five
Right.
or 10 different types of
Yeah.
milks, probably more like 15 these days, different
Uh-huh.
types of milk. You'll find something you like, and switch out your butter, things like the little steps, they really do matter.
Exactly. Yes. What are your thoughts on the I don't want to say artificial, but the meat substitutes, like the Beyond Burger and all that. What do you think about those?
I think they're important
Yeah.
because I don't think that there's a segment of the population that would never be able to have a black bean, who will never enjoy a black bean burger.
Mm-hmm.
They'll never enjoy quinoa. So if we can do what we can to reduce the impact on the environment, the impact on factory farming, and in so many ways, I don't think those things are necessarily healthy, but I'm sure they're better than meat. So
Yeah.
I think that they're necessary.
Yeah.
I personally try not to eat it like every day or anything because it's so
Right.
easy to do that because they're so convenient. But they're definitely necessary. So I don't have any issues with it. I will say that sometimes when I come across things, I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to eat that because what is that?
Okay. Yeah. Like what? Anything in particular that you can think
Oh,
of?
I don't know if I want to say the name because
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, it's one of them that's a major one that I still haven't tried yet.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, no, that's not true. I've tried it in a restaurant, but I haven't tried it at home
Mm,
because when I see it in the store, I'm just like, I don't know. It's so,
yeah.
but I don't want to look, but I don't want to trash them because I may try them and like them. So I don't want anybody to hear this and they're like, wait, but you.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
you come across things like that too, where you just kind of like, I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there have been some things that I tried. Like, for example, as far as, sustainable swaps go, a lot of people recommend the wax wraps, like the wax, like it replaces like plastic wrap,
Oh
and they're
yes,
made out of like, yeah, beeswax. And I don't love them, but some people love them, but it's just not for me.
it's
So
just
yeah.
things like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, there are some vegan meats too that I've tried and I don't like. There's well, okay, Simple Truth, do you have Kroger near you?
I don't. You said
Oh,
Simple
okay.
Truth. That sounds familiar though. Is that their brand?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
I've seen it before. Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah. So they have these chicken nuggets, like meat replacement chicken nuggets, and they are like the best ever. But pretty much any other fake chicken, I'm not a fan of.
Have you tried daring? dairy foods. Their chicken,
No.
I think they're really good. Now it's kind
Okay.
of pricey. I think it's like $7 for a
Okay.
pound, and you don't get like a ton, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really good. Like I remember the first time I had it, I was like, wait a minute, what is this texture? They capture the texture really well. Of
Yes.
course, you know how it is with chicken and things like that. You just season it and get, what you want from that. But yeah,
Right.
I think that's a really good one. So if you see them, you should definitely try them. Yeah.
Okay, I will. Yeah. But like you said, I think that meat replacements they definitely have their place, especially if you're a new person who's like, just wanting to get into veganism or vegetarianism. It's a great way to kind of make that transition, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Like, I see people all the time. They'll say, because I get DMs from people and they're like, okay, I want to try this or that. What do you recommend? And then they'll
Hmm.
come back to me and they're like, okay, that's really good. So what else do you have? So it's
Yeah.
like one of those things where you have to kind of find out what works for you, but you don't have to feel like you need to do what everyone else is doing, kind of thing. You can like figure it out. And
Yeah.
I just think certain products, you just want it to be as close as possible. Like for me, I want my ice cream to be very close because that's like one of my favorite foods,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you also have to go into it and know that this is going to be like a new experience and everything is not going to be what you're used to. So you just have to have
Right.
it in mind for sure.
Yeah, it's trial and error. You get to try different things and see what you like and what you don't like.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So, oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Oh, okay. So, like I was saying before, we were vegan for about a year, and then we just slowly like transitioned back into eating meat, and that was, like 6 or 7 years ago now. And when I think about going vegan again, or even vegetarian, but I'd rather go vegan because I know that I can do it.
Uh-huh.
But I just feel like things have changed like mentally because when we were vegan then like we were young, like we just got married, we were broke, so like we were making struggle meals, and it was okay for that time. But now I feel like my palate has changed, and I'm like, oh, like I can't go back to doing what we were doing before. So for someone who's a little adventurous but doesn't want to eat salads all the time, like what what types of meals and stuff do you suggest to people?
Yeah. Because that's another thing. Sometimes when people say that it doesn't get boring being
Hmm.
vegan, if you don't really cook a lot, it can get boring.
Yeah.
So if you, like you said, want to be more adventurous, I just always think about what is it that you really enjoy and how can you switch those ingredients out to make it.
Yeah.
That's like the first step. Also,
Right.
just be open to like looking at. I know the library isn't like a place where people necessarily go these days, but I like to
Yes.
go because what you do is you go through and you just flip through cookbooks and you get
Yeah.
so much inspiration from there.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
also love services like I always talk about it. Green Chef and Purple Carrot are so helpful because they do make you
Yes.
feel like you know what you're doing in the kitchen when you start
Right.
experimenting with those. And I also say YouTube, like go on there and see what other vegans are cooking. It will give you some inspiration. And I also like to look at Cooking Network. Um,
Mm.
what is it? Food Network, excuse me, the food
Hmm.
cooking channel. I like to look at their YouTube channels because even though they don't cook vegan, it helps me get the juices going. Like
Yeah.
to think about, okay, how can I put this together, put that together. So you just
Yeah.
have to really be open minded and just commit to putting one new thing in your grocery cart every time you go to the store. And before you
Okay.
know it, you can build on it. Like I use a software called Trello, and I
Yes.
just collect different recipes and ideas in there. And then when I need some inspiration and I'm tired of eating soup again or chickpeas again, because I get busy. So it's just easier
Hmm.
to put on like some chickpea stew or a soup or put a Gardein burger in the oven or something. It's like because I get busy. So
Right.
I think it's helpful to just first add something new to your grocery list and be open to just trying that new thing. Don't go home and let it sit in the back of your refrigerator and get moldy.
Yes.
Go home and try it. You know how that is.
Oh yeah, girl, please. All the time.
So yeah, just you have to be really open minded. You really do.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I'm saying that about how sometimes it can be boring, but a lot of times people who aren't vegan are eating the same thing over and
Yep.
over again. But we don't talk about that. They're eating the
True.
same broccoli, rice, and chicken. They eat that
Hmm.
chicken baked, they eat it fried, but it's the same damn chicken every time.
Yep.
So it's hilarious when this vegan is like different, right?
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And the idea of using one of those meal delivery services, that's a really good idea
Love
because
it.
I use them, not vegan or vegetarian, but it did help me improve my cooking skills. It gave me more, ideas for recipes, like ways to cook things. So, yeah, that's a great tip.
It's so helpful. Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk more about being vegan with a family. Like I said, my husband was the one who watched Vegucated and came to me and had me watch it with him. But this guy was the biggest carnivore. Like his dad would barbecue and he would pile his plate full of meat, like all the different meats.
So he
It
had
was so gross.
no sides, just all the meat.
Yes. 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 So it was so surprising that he wanted to, be a vegan. So, it was an easy transition for us since he initiated it. But for someone who, is with a partner who is kind of against it or, not excited about it or they have children, how do you work with that?
Yeah, that is so tricky, and that's
Hmm.
another reason why I thought it was so, so important. I just remember saying to my ex-husband, because we did it together as a family. So my ex-husband
Yeah.
and my three boys. And I remember saying to him when I first started and I'm learning everything, I just said, I have to talk about this stuff. Like I have to share this because the family dynamics is just so different from trying to be a single person or even in your situation where a spouse, because you were open-minded to it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Having, of course, right? And having a
Mhm.
spouse that isn't, like, all of that is just something that isn't really explored enough. And I
Right.
feel like it's so easy because we were just so happy about this transition that we just talk about all of the good things. But
Mhm.
the truth is, your family can make or break this.
Yep.
So I think a little bit of my advantage is that my youngest son was 5 when I decided to do it. So of course he knew about McDonald's and all of those things, but he hadn't been eating all of those things long enough to really make
Hmm.
a difference. My oldest
Exactly.
son was 8 though, so
Hmm.
he was just kind of like, "What and why?" And I think that it kind of was a little different because before then I had been a vegetarian for 2 years, and it didn't affect them at all. I still cooked the same foods, and I just ate the sides, and or I would make myself a veggie burger, but they were still eating chicken and all of those things.
Yeah.
And so having a family on there was just very different, but the only thing the thing that kept us going is having some of those replacements, like having the field roast sausages, having some of those Gardein vegan chicken strips and things like that, because my kids were still getting the things that they loved, but it was just a plant-based version of it. It was a vegan version of it, so they could still have hot dogs, or they could still have corn dogs and french fries and all of those things, but it was just a vegan version of it. So um, I would say that the consistency is what made a difference. Like, I think they didn't push back as much after a while because they realized that this is something that I really wanted to do and it wasn't going
Hmm.
away. So it was just like, what feedback can I get from you so I can make this food good?
Okay. Yeah.
I approached it because it's so easy to jump into it and be like, no, everybody's doing it. And I did have those moments. I had those moments where I'm just like, I'm not cooking nothing else. This is a
Uh-huh.
job.
Yep.
But at the same time, after a while, getting their feedback just made it so much easier. I want to have pie this week. I want to have cake this week. How can we do?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it takes time, but it's worth it.
Yeah. About how long did the transition take?
With the family,
Uh-huh.
Arrow, like 2 years, girl. It was like,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And I know that sounds like a really long time,
Hmm.
but it wasn't, because I mean that time is gonna pass anyway, right?
Right.
So it wasn't, my kids were never vegan when they were younger, but they were
Right.
vegan at home. And so
Mm.
to me that was good enough, you know,
Mm.
setting that foundation at home. But I would say, I know 2 years sounds really long, and maybe it wasn't that long, but I feel like it was about 2 years. And when I say that, 2 years of like, I can make meals and put things together and no one is questioning anything.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they were eating the food during that 2 years, but it was
Okay.
a lot of trial and error, especially that first 6 months. So yeah.
Mm. I
Yeah.
see. And now are they completely vegan?
No.
Oh, okay.
But they're very vegan friendly. And
Yeah.
there was a point. My oldest son is 20, and for a moment, I would say for about 8 months or so, he was, but he's not right this second. Like I notice he goes back and forth.
Mhm.
That's fine because he knows what to do when he does decide to go back. And to me, that's what's important. Like giving them the information, giving them that foundation, and then they can figure out what works for them. And that's, I think, the most important part that people should do instead of giving it so much pressure. It's like, what can I do to make this delicious and easy for my family? So
Mhm.
that if they do decide to do this, that they can later in life. And that's
Yeah.
how I'm looking at it. It's not the most popular thought, but
No, but I
yeah.
love that. I love that. And like how I was saying earlier too, offline, that I'm biased when it comes to, like veganism and stuff, because sometimes it feels like it has to be all or nothing, and people can be very judgmental if they feel like you're not doing it right?
And I just ignore all of those people because I hear it all the time. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I have blinders on. I don't even hear it anymore because I believe, I'm sorry, I cut you off, but I got to.
No. Mm-mm.
But the point I was going to make is that I think that the people that I'm really trying to help understand what I'm saying and it resonates with them. And that's all that matters to me. If you're already vegan, amazing. I'm so glad.
Yes.
But I'm not here for you necessarily. I'm here for the people who are considering this, especially Black women, especially Black people,
Yes.
but especially Black women, because I know that we do a majority of the cooking and we make majority of the family decisions. So if I can
Yes.
give you this information and make it accessible and it doesn't take away from who you are as a person, I've done what I'm supposed to do. I can't worry about what the vegans say because girl, they come for me. It's not
Okay.
too bad. It's not too bad, but there's been moments where I'm just like, oh, maybe I should
Right.
log off a little bit.
Oh no, right. Yeah, it's ruthless sometimes.
I'm just, yeah. So, but I think my skin is a little thicker now. So it's just like, because I'm very clear about my purpose and who I want.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's awesome. So, you said that you're mainly wanting to help Black women transition to being vegan. So, what has been your experience with that? Like, how have you seen how veganism is talked about or, reacted upon within the Black community?
Oh, yeah. A lot of us, I think, you can only imagine, right? We're like, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like with my family, especially my family in the South, they're like,
Yep.
what and why?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
um, I think there was a point in my journey where I was really sensitive about it because I just knew how important it was. And so I would kind of shut down when people would come to me. I would be more defensive.
Mm,
And now I think I'm a lot more open-minded, meaning I'm open to the criticism and I'm here to help the people that are interested. So I think overall, like the people online who aren't vegan who come to me are like so cool. I can give them information, we're good. But sometimes I think it's like the people that are the closest to you who are just like,
yep.
why would you do a
Yeah.
thing like that? So I think that just goes to show that there needs to be more education about how everyday people can do this. Because unfortunately, at least I'm sure you have the same image of veganism being a blonde woman who's single, who makes a certain amount of money, lives in
Mhm.
LA. You don't really see the everyday person embracing this. So it's important for us to like continue to put ourselves out there so that people can see that representation. But sometimes pushback, but often it's people are just curious about it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, in the South, like it's very not a popular idea. I live in Atlanta, so
Oh, but see, you're in the Black Mecca. Y'all are the Black vegan Mecca down there.
oh girl, yes, there have been an influx of vegan restaurants and stuff, so it's been amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, within the family, like on a smaller basis, it's not so much. But there are so many alternatives that, that you can veganify like almost any recipe. So for example, my aunt, I have an aunt who's vegan, and she gave me a recipe for vegan collard greens.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, it is so good. Way better than, like turkey. I've never had ham hock because, I told you I don't eat pork, but turkey is way better than turkey collard greens. Like the vegan, I make it for fun, like so often. Like I don't even wait till Thanksgiving.
I love it. So what is it? What's in it? What does she
It's
season?
just vegetable broth, onion, bell pepper, and jalapeno. And then I put like red chili flakes in it. So it's like, it's spicy, but
Yeah,
it's so good.
yeah. I
Yeah.
love
And
it.
simple.
Yeah, it sounds simple, yes, and that's what we
Yeah.
want, right?
Right. Right. So, there's ways to enjoy, cultural foods and in a vegan way. Do
Absolutely.
you have any particularly like, traditional recipes that you've veganified?
I love macaroni and cheese.
Uh-huh.
So, and cornbread, I have some good recipes for both of those. And it did take some time though, because I've tried,
Yeah.
and that's another thing. It's important for people to be don't come across a recipe and it doesn't work and you think, okay, that's it. You gotta keep trying.
Yeah,
You gotta be
definitely.
willing to do that again, in another way. So yeah, I love cornbread, I love mac and cheese, I love vegan fried chicken.
What do you use for the chicken?
So I haven't done it in a while.
Uh-huh.
But when I used to do it, I used to use the Gardein one. It's the one that doesn't have like any skin or anything. So it's not the tenders. What I don't know what it's called. I don't remember. But basically I wrap it in rice paper, double
Mm.
batter it, and then deep fry it. I haven't done it in a
Mm.
while. So the rice paper makes it really crispy on the outside.
Yeah.
I got that recipe from Roberto Martin years ago. He used to be Ellen's chef. I don't know if he still is, but when he came out with his book years ago, I was like, "Oh, that is genius!" So it has like it's
Yeah.
tender and delicious in the inside, and it's just crispy on the outside because of that rice paper. It is just, it's good. I haven't had it in a while, but
Yeah.
that's my when I do make it, that's the one I like to make.
That sounds good too.
Hot sauce.
Of course, gotta have that. I'll have to get your mac and cheese recipe too because I haven't tried a good recipe yet.
Yeah, it's actually so it's not my recipe, but I
Uh-huh.
share it because it's the one that I love.
Okay.
Um it's the one from Veg News. I think it's called the world best vegan macaroni and cheese or something like that. So I just
Mm.
play with that recipe. I made
Okay.
adjustments, but that one is really good. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look that up.
Yeah, definitely.
Another question I have for you is about vegan versus plant-based. What is the difference?
Probably the wrong person to ask this.
Okay. Okay.
But no, the reason I say this because okay, so I think because the reason I think I'm the wrong person is because I feel like there's so much confusion about what the difference is.
Right.
So I guess the plant base is the diet. You're strictly about diet. And I feel like there's also leeway in there for you to have eggs and cheese and things like that in plant based. Because I think the goal is to eat as many plants as you can, but you also allow room for the other things if necessary.
Okay.
And veganism is definitely about the ethics. So it's just being mindful in your food, cosmetics, clothing, those type of things. So it's the ethics is
Mhm.
definitely more than a diet, but in my mind, plant based is diet, and it
Right.
throws me off, especially when I'm in the grocery store because there's so many brands jumping on the trend that you'll see something and you open it, you look on the front of a box and it'll say plant based, and so in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, plant based is likely vegan. But the
Uh-huh.
truth is, these days it's not. You flip it over, there's dairy, there's eggs in it.
Wow.
So you just have to like I always remind myself that the front is the advertising and the T is on the back. Like the details, the real is on the back.
Mhm.
Um, I think that is because I see different definitions of it as far as plant
Right.
vegans, but in my mind, one is diet and one is ethics.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And then also one thing that I thought about plant-based versus vegan is that I feel like people who say that they're plant-based do sometimes still have dairy and they may even occasionally have meat from time to time.
Oh wow. See,
That's my assumption.
I never even thought about the meat part. I just always
Yeah.
thought that it was more, oh wow. See? I told you I'm the wrong person to ask.
Well, no, no. This is my guess too. That's like we're having a dialogue. We're
Okay.
not saying that I'm right or whatever, because that's just what I think.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong about that. But I feel like sometimes people who say that they're plant based, may indulge in some things every
That don't
now
work. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like the titles, that alone sometimes is just like a lot, you
and then.
know,
Yeah,
because you kind of
right.
feel like you're confined to this box.
Yeah,
And sometimes, like we talked about before about the all or nothing, some people won't even try because they're afraid that they can't say that they're one or the other, or they're a vegetarian or pescatarian. They feel like they can't say anything, so they don't try
yes,
at all. And I think
yes,
that the progression is always more important than not even trying anything. Just make
yes,
the effort. That's
exactly.
how I feel.
Yes, I saw on your website that you put progress over perfection.
Always. Yeah.
Yes.
I always believe that. And and it's so funny because sometimes people, because I am a vegan, people are like, well, I'm sorry, I can't eat this in front of you, or I
Hmm.
can't say this. And I'm like, no, you be who you are. And in my mind, when they say that, I'm like, okay, so that means that they're starting to think about it. That to me is important. Like, you're thinking, because a lot of times we
Right.
go through our whole lives and we don't even think of other options. We go
Yeah.
based on how we grew up eating, and my mom and everybody else always did it this way, and I'm going to continue to do it this way. But planting seeds is just as important to me as somebody just being vegan. Like, if I plant the seed and I help you in any way, that's just is important, and you can build on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Exactly. I love that. And so when you were talking about your story at the beginning, you mentioned that you aren't just in it for the health benefits, but you also care about the animals and the planet and stuff. So, like, tell me more about that. Like, what is your perspective on veganism as like a sustainability and animal rights issue?
I feel like that's the basis of the entire movement. It really is.
Mm,
The health is definitely important, but when you start to learn about the factory farming and just how devastating, like, meat and dairy is to not only our planet but to other living beings, it's just like, why do I want to contribute to that if I can't? If I can avoid contributing to that, I don't want to. So it's interesting to me, like, as far as being an environmentalist, and it's funny because I don't really consider myself one, even though I'm sure people probably would consider me one,
yeah.
because this is the ultimate way to show how much you believe in the planet and how much you know that this work is necessary.
Yes.
What can I do to make sure that the generations are great here for my grandchildren and my great grandchildren? So that's what it means to me, is just like the ultimate. And sure, we can, you know, recycle, but I think the ultimate goal is to
Mm,
reduce our consumption. And I love beautiful things. I love pretty things, but I also know that what I take away from the world and what I take away from the planet and resources contributes to everyone else. And I feel like
yes.
sometimes we think that we're too small and we don't really make a difference, but if we all didn't think like that, we will make a difference. So, yeah, I think the environmental part and the animal rights, of course, are the center of the vegan movement. Absolutely.
Yes.
No brainer. Definitely.
Yes, I love that. One thing that I wonder, because I know that factory farming it contributes a lot of, greenhouse gases.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on if we were able to eat or, have access to meat that's like more local? Let's say you have like have it once or twice a month, but it comes more locally. Do you think that that would be better?
I go back and forth. And I think the reason I go back and forth is because I don't really have enough education around it.
Yeah.
So, in theory, like, just hearing what you just said, yes, absolutely, that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, well, it still takes a lot of resources to feed
That's true.
a calf, or a
Yeah.
cow, or whatever you're eating, the beef. So it's so much cheaper, and it'll always be cheaper to eat beans and rice.
Yep.
So, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, once or twice a month is nothing compared to people who eat it every single day. So if you can
Yeah.
reduce, that's amazing.
Right.
That counts.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think the other issue with that would be, if you care about the animal rights and stuff, you don't want to see animals being harmed, and then that would also kind of not make you want to allow that.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Monique, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. Um, Tell everyone where they can find you online.
Yes. Well, first of all, Ariel, thank you for making this very easy for me because
Yay.
I use Encaster too. I love the software, but I never turn the camera on because,
Yeah. You should do it.
girl, no, I'm like recording my podcast with a bonnet on and chilling. Like this took effort for a second. I'm like, oh no, now I have to get dressed.
Oh no, you look amazing. Thank you for making the
You
effort.
don't even really get dressed, but you know what I mean.
I do, yes.
Well, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. I really appreciate you having me on. So, your listeners can find me at brownvegan.com. That's my blog. And I'm Brown Vegan everywhere. So, my
Yep.
YouTube channel, my podcast, my Instagram are all Brown Vegan.
Yes, yes. Please go follow her. Listen to her podcast. She interviews some amazing women about, being vegan and everything. So, and oh shoot, I was going to say something else. Wow, I totally lost my train of thought.
Probably
But
because I started talking about clothes and camping.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. Right. No, and no, you were also too, you started a series on your podcast about your credit. So that's been really interesting.
Yes,
Like
Ariel. So I
taking notes.
started that because I feel like because wellness to me is not just food. And a lot of times people can't eat well or do well in that area because they're struggling when it comes to money and, just overall wellness, mental health, self care, all of those things. And so I think that's a component. And I think it's so important to to have more candid conversations about all of those things so that we can eat better because they all
Yes.
go together. Like if your money isn't right, you're probably not eating right. If your mental health isn't right, you're probably not eating right. So yeah, that's why I decided to start that series.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, I feel the same way about sustainability. It's not just all about the environment, but it encompasses a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And with that being said, what does being a sustainable brown girl mean to you?
Oh God, I was so nervous with this question. I was hoping you would forget.
No way.
Is it good? So maybe I don't know. I might be overthinking it, but to me, being sustainable is happiness. Is that weird that I'm saying that?
No.
So it's being okay for where you are in all of the areas that we just talked about. So a level of like being content, I guess. So eating well, showing up for others, showing up for ourselves, and just thinking beyond our small situation, like thinking beyond our families, thinking about everything as a whole. So and people and other people. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's great. No, yeah, no, that's
I don't
that's
know. Like I
amazing.
was so afraid for this question because I was like, I have no idea.
No, that's okay. That's a good answer. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You've inspired me to want to make more of an effort to reduce the amount of meat that I'm eating and hopefully get back to being vegan one day. But
Yes.
yes,
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
yes, thank you. Don't leave just yet. Click here to hear from another sustainable brown girl, or click here to watch the full playlist from this season.